There it is. We're live.
Look at that. Hey,
Hey, how you doing? Sorry I missed last week.
good.
I was slightly busy, just ramping up to vacation.
Was it your fault that we didn't do? I thought it was my fault.
No, no,
I
I'm
thought I said.
pretty sure it was me. I just
I,
opted for the easy excuse, but yeah, it was all on me.
I'm pretty sure I was the first one to say let's
Okay,
do it next week.
okay, I'll take it. I'll take the W.
Huh, yeah. So what we're
Uh,
doing last week?
I think I was just getting ready for. I mean, the same thing I've been doing for a while. This is just getting ready for vacation. I was working on a workshop.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever worked on workshops before. Trying to get Azure accounts spun up into workshops. This is like a new little wrinkle.
Hmm.
But yeah, just trying to get like a test environment up where you can play around with
Yeah.
the like a new cloud account as opposed to just a new vendor account kind of thing.
Right.
And then it's like I want to say it's last mile stuff, but it's not even. It's like the first mile stuff that I was getting
Right.
stuck on, trying to over optimize from the start. And then it turned out that like what we actually need to do is something completely different. So I just wasted a day on nothing. I learned a lot,
Yeah.
but it's like a scope creep or lack of requirements, or maybe both.
Right. So was it creating the environment itself, or was it creating the workshop content?
It was creating the environment itself. So like
Okay.
the platform we're using is Instruct. I think you've played around with it a little
Oh
bit.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So just
Yeah. It was.
making
We were just doing the transition over to Instruct from Katakoda just as I was leaving.
right, and then Windows itself, automating Windows is a little bit.
Mm,
It's just different. It's not that it's better or worse. It's something else. And I've got a lot more experience automating Linux operating systems. Let's be
yeah.
real here. Even though I've got a
Yeah.
lot of experience with Windows, I feel like I was a little earlier on in my career, so I was doing a lot of stuff manually at that
Yeah.
point in time, and then coming back to it later, I want to do the things I can do elsewhere, like CloudNet and stuff like that. I ended up just breaking down and using Chocolatey yet again, which I don't know if you used before. It's like Homebrew for Windows.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like one of those third-party package managers that you can use to grab packages
Right.
from the web that have been preordained, set up, ready to go, that kind of thing.
Right.
One of the recipes or one of the chocolatey things that you can do is the Datadog agent. So of course I was playing around with
Hmm.
that. And specifically I was trying to pass it arguments in the command line using its syntax as opposed to ours. And then yeah,
Hmm.
what are you gonna do?
Does it do it in a way that Datadog wants it to do it?
It does, yeah. And not
Okay.
just Datadog, but like most packages. So
Okay.
specifically it's got to do with
Or did
MFI
Datadog
arguments.
create the package?
I feel like we were involved at
Mm,
some point in time, and then
okay.
maybe the
Okay.
community was involved, and then recently we've come back into play. But it's sort of both. I think we've both been
Hmm.
involved. Again, someone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like
Hmm.
a few people had played around with it. Specifically, it's got to do with passing arguments into MSI packages, so those installers that Microsoft will take, and they're just essentially arguments. They go within quotes, but then within the
Hmm.
quotes, you got double quotes and single quotes and backslashes and all
Hmm.
this fun stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad,
Yeah.
and it turned out what I was trying to do needed something else anyway. So I hid some of the config in a gist, and I downloaded it, which is like what not to do, but yeah, I got it working for now. How about yourself? What were you up to?
So when you set up machines,
Mhm.
or instances or whatever, do you use certain tools, or are you doing it by hand and running each command
Yeah, so that's a
by
really
hand?
good question, and this is where the scope creep comes in because like I think in the past, what I would normally do is hide most of this in Active Directory. So let's say a computer joins your network and you search and you say, hey, do you have the security agents that I need? Do you have the monitoring
Hmm.
agents that I need? If not, then install them. Let's be honest, in the
Right.
past, I just try to install anyway, and that would, it's this feature, it will update if it's already there, kind of
Right.
thing. These days, I probably use Packer and build it into an image, assuming
Mm,
that it's going to
okay.
be a VM as opposed to like a hardware machine. But some of the lab is talking about monitoring Windows. It's essentially an intro to
Hmm.
monitoring Windows with Datadog.
Right.
But that is a question. How do you bootstrap? How do you
Yeah.
set up an instance to do it? And there are ways of doing this in Azure as well that are like Cloud Init, but just a little bit different than Cloud Init. Cloud Init being
Mm,
what you would normally use on Ubuntu or Debian or I think now RPM based systems. But essentially having a bootstrap script that when it turns on runs a script. On the Windows side, it will do everything but run it. So you've got to have like an instance image ready to run something that's not there,
Oh, okay.
which is kind of interesting. But you have to do that using like I've forgotten the term at this point in time, but you have to
Yeah.
apply like a golden image that will expect that to be there
Hmm.
and then run it. Whereas on Linux, you just it's part of the rule set kind of thing. If it's in a
Mm.
certain folder, it will run, which is pretty handy.
So you said you would have embedded or inserted that all into Active Directory.
Yes,
You can do that in Active Directory?
absolutely. But for better
So
or for
last
worse.
I I mean, I remember Active Directory came out when I was the first version of, well, I guess the first version was before me, but I mean, I was working at Microsoft
Mhm.
when Windows 2000 was coming out, which was like the first real way that Active Directory was being really pushed. And it was
Right,
before that, it was a separate install that you would
right.
install that was separate from Windows. But when I was there, it was the first version in Windows, and it was purely just around users, around OUs, around just around the basically the directory. It was that was all it was, just a directory. And now it's more.
Yeah, so this has to do with something called sysprep, essentially. Well, it's kind of two
Okay.
things. But imagine a computer comes online on a network and is joined to Active Directory. What it can do is say, okay, I mean, you're ready, you're part of the directory, but
Hmm.
because your computer has landed in this group, what I want you to do is go ahead and run this script.
Oh.
And you can define that in your policies, essentially. So there can be a policy
Hmm.
like on join
Oh
group.
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, then and check
Okay.
the group policy, and the group policy will do it. Now, I mean,
Right.
I'm cheating a little bit here. Group policy is part of Active Directory, but
Right.
that policy is what will then chain load that script for you. It's not that that's a bad approach or anything like that. It's just generally in a cloud scenario, it's a little there's a lot more steps than you require to just get
Yeah.
something running. But on prem, I'm pretty sure this is still the golden way to do it. I'll go down this road
Okay.
just to make sure. But essentially, what you do is you'd sysprep an image all the way up to getting it
Right.
ready to boot. And when it boots on a piece of hardware, we'll go and look for it. And this is, I think, maybe particularly important if you're using like Hyper-V as opposed to something like VMware on-prem.
Right.
In the VMs, you would normally bake that into the VM image using Packer or what have you. If you're using Hyper-V, though, this is probably still the way to go.
There's a comment. Did you guys wear matching shirts on purpose?
I mean,
No. No. So I don't work for Datadog, but I worked for Datadog for 8 years, and so therefore a large part of my wardrobe has Datadog logos on it. Even though I've been gone for 8 or 9 months, Datadog is like on one in every four shirts I own.
And I will say, listen, the t-shirts are really comfortable. Even prior to
They
joining the
are.
company, I would wear it at home because it's really thin. This morning I had a Twitch stream, and I figured I'd just wear the Datadog shirt. And sure enough, the person who was hosting me in their stream was also wearing a Datadog shirt, which I thought was funny. It just happens. Comfy shirts. Yeah.
Comfy shirts, yeah. For a long time, at Datadog, I would wear like Sysdig shirts and other competitor shirts.
Right.
That didn't go over well.
I don't think like I don't have a big problem with that. I mean, we're
Oh,
we're all a big
yeah,
monitoring family
yeah.
as a whole. I do though. Maybe it's like self censor or whatever. I don't actually wear other monitoring company shirts. I don't know why. I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I do have an Instruct shirt though. That's like a long sleeve.
Oh
I
yeah,
really like. Yeah, maybe I'll wear that next time.
yeah. Instruct was regarding that the platform you're using.
Mhm.
I remember uh, we there were many opportunities to switch over from Katacoda to Instruct. I mean,
Right
there were a few times where we're like, we're switching, and then but we
now.
couldn't because there wasn't. I mean, until Katacoda said, okay, we want all customers to go away because
Right
we want it to be an internal only O'Reilly thing.
right.
Until that date, and we had to find a solution. We had looked at Instruct a few times. You had looked at Instruct a few times, but we didn't feel good about. There might have been other political issues, but
Mhm.
basically, Instruct was part of Zebia Labs,
Right.
and Zebia was kind of in the similar space, and so buying this service from competitor-ish company was awkward.
It
Um,
it can be hard. I mean,
and
it's a
now
small
that
world as
it's
well.
separate, those
Yeah,
two things are separate,
right,
and so that's no longer a problem.
right. And I think that former CEO of Zevia Labs is now the CEO of Instruct. If I
Right.
believe,
Yep.
yeah. Honestly, it's a small world.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
fine.
yeah.
It
Totally.
it is
Totally.
difficult though to like navigate the waters sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the shirt that I got that I'm specifically talking about is from Sensu, and I believe Sensu's now part of
Okay.
Sumo Logic as well, which is like a
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. But I've used both. I've used a lot of monitoring products out there. I like monitoring,
This,
unfortunately.
this is a shirt that's not dated. No, it's dirty.
Is it just sitting on your floor
Just another. Yeah, I was looking to see
in
if
the
there was
shirt
something
pile?
else.
The vendor shirt pile.
Yeah, shirt pile. I'm not really sure why that's there.
Maybe the dog
Yeah,
brought it
there's
in.
a shirt pile. Yeah, probably. So we talked about how to set. I for setting up machines myself,
Hmm.
and like if I want to set up a new demo for something,
Right.
I feel like my answer there is the way that I think a lot of people answer survey questions when they recently we did a few things about surveys, a
Right.
few conversations about surveys, and there's some people will answer the way they want it to be, way they think that is the
Yes.
right way to be. And so I think of um you know I I have the way I want to, and I would like to at some point install machines, but I'm still doing it manually. And that way that I
Not
want to
even with the
do is
script. Now that part surprises me. You don't
well,
have
I
your own
have
script
many
that does
no,
the cool things for you?
no,
Oh, man. I mean,
no.
I can
I
hand you one, at least for, Linux, Mac, and Windows. I've got one for all 3.
Yeah, I mean, I probably actually I don't to say I don't have a script is wrong. I have basically a script I've created for every time I need to do it because I don't reuse the script because
Oh,
I
okay.
lose it or I can't. I don't know. I can't remember what I did before last time,
Right.
and I keep thinking, okay, I just need to have one repo, a whole bunch of Ansible playbooks, and just go from that.
But Ansible's the problem because getting Ansible on Windows it's not that Ansible can't, address Windows as a
People
whole.
care about Windows? No.
Yeah, well, listen, they do. There's
Yeah.
actually quite a few people. Like
Yeah.
again, surprise to me.
Yeah.
I won't say it's a significant portion of the web, but there's a fair amount of people running
So
web
is
servers out
Ansible
there.
not on Windows?
It won't run on Windows, but it can address Windows, so it can like log into
Mm,
Windows and fix it up, that kind of thing.
right,
Salt Stack and I think maybe Puppet to a lesser extent are kind of what
right.
the Windows crowd might use.
Okay.
Yeah, and possibly Pulumi. I haven't tried that myself.
Yeah, I haven't tried that at all.
Hmm.
Um, you mentioned package managers and Chocolatey,
Yes.
and I saw that there's a newer package manager out.
Okay, like
Did
an
you see
alternative
this?
to Homebrew that isn't Mac
An
ports?
an alternate to Homebrew
Okay.
by the person who created Homebrew.
What? What? I
Yeah.
I have so
So
many
it's called
questions already. Okay. TEE?
TEA,
Okay.
like the tea that you drink.
Right?
T.xyz.
Okay.
Of course, look at that web page and try to figure out what they're doing. It's like,
It's also a
ah,
little bit ungoogleable, but okay.
yeah. So t.xyz is the website. That's the URL.
Is it just
But
that
it's the
it's
most,
one letter shorter than brew? Is at least
oh
for me,
yeah,
brew is like an action, but tea, like what are you would brew tea, but you can't tea something.
right.
Interesting.
Uh-oh.
Stable diffusion. Oh, oh no. Okay, so they auto generate the images for the package. I this requires like an entire podcast.
It looks pretty
I
cool.
will use this and we'll get back to it. But I will say
Yeah.
on that note, I have recently moved to an M1 Mac, and because I didn't have admin permissions before I got started, I
Hmm.
couldn't use any of my scripts, and I ended up doing everything by hand. In fact, I had to use mostly the App Store because it's like a bit of privilege escalation that it can do. The Mac App Store apps can install
Hmm.
and do all the things that they expect. They're kind of cordoned off, but they work. It it's not fun. The world without Brew is not a world I really want to live within, honestly, or without some sort of.
Wait,
Uh,
you couldn't install Brew? Install
no,
stuff?
no,
Why?
because I didn't have permissions. It took somebody went on vacation or something like that, and I got a blank computer from Apple, and I really
Okay,
wanted to use it because we've been talking about M1, and I really wanted to get in
right.
there and use it. But long story short, I can now test tea versus brew because I don't have either installed.
Mhm.
So it's exercise for me to get back to us. This looks pretty
Wow.
interesting. I'm not sure about the stable diffusion images, but I will.
Yeah, I yeah, I mean, and then you scroll down, it's like, wait, they're doing authentication as well? And they're doing NFT badges,
Oh
and
no,
they're doing
I just saw the NFT
like,
part.
what are they not doing?
Listen, maybe
Um,
this is a great use of NFT. Maybe this is a use case. I could be wrong.
yeah,
It's possible. I've been wrong before. Oh, and they're supported by Binance.
yeah.
I may not try this.
But
I'm so sorry,
under
T.
products, there's so actually the GitHub repo is perhaps a little bit more. It's still pretty cryptic about what they're doing, but
Okay.
it's a little bit better. Um,
The install command's
I
pretty
guess
interesting.
TSCLI,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there they actually refer to it as like Brew 2.
Okay. Hey, even homebrew is
Um,
getting pretty bloated. Having
yeah,
recently, like when I was trying to get rid of the old Mac to update stuff, I ran through some homebrew stuff just to make sure everything was ready to go. You know how
right.
you can output your packages essentially and then just use them
Yeah,
once. So I got all that ready. I was really happy, and then of course I couldn't use it. But homebrew updates take a long time now, and
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
fun. I just want to
yeah.
run brew commands. This is
So
this is not great. Have you used the MAS command, the Mac App Store command? It's
yes,
like a command line.
yeah.
Yeah, I did want to
So
use that, but couldn't install that, for
yeah,
example.
yeah. Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, so I literally had to
yeah.
click around. It felt weird.
I have a problem with the Mac App Store in that I have to use two IDs,
Oh, that sucks.
and you can only be logged in as one at a time. Anything that you've installed with the other will stay there if you switch to a
Right,
different one. But so I have one email address
right.
through one iCloud address where everything is in euros. And
Okay,
my address was, I mean, initially my address was in the Netherlands.
right.
Um, and then I moved to the States, and they can change over the currency, but then you lose. At the time, it was something like the only way I could change the address was if they delete all my apps. Like,
What?
what?
This is like one of those
And
schema problems. Like people move.
yeah, no, no, no moving, no moving, no changing currency.
Does that apply to like movies and
Um,
music and stuff like that too? Because
Yeah. So I mean, I never bought any music or movies, so that
right.
part's easy for me. Um,
What about that free YouTube album?
oh,
You didn't get that?
what happened there?
Oh, we
Did I go away? Oh,
you've
there
gone
we go.
dark. You're back.
Yeah.
HDMI cable.
Um, what about what?
Like the U2 album that everyone got for free, or episodes of I
Oh,
think
right.
like Gravity Falls that I got from Starbucks, for example.
Yeah, I don't know. It's considering I haven't listened to that album or since that
Listen,
day.
U2's not bad. That album is not great.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I have these two. And so for, updating Final Cut Pro, I have to go back to my old uh
Right, which
ID.
is
And
non-trivial.
then
That's
for
a
any
pretty expensive app.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's definitely one of the at $300, that's probably the most it's almost the most expensive one I
I want to say
bought through the
Logic
App
is the
Store.
same. So I own Logic
Yeah, Logic.
Pro.
I have
I,
Logic
I,
and
I
Final
don't know
Cut
why.
Pro, and
Yeah,
yeah, I
I've got
the
Logic.
number of useful things I've done with Logic is I don't
I
know if
have
I can count it on one
certainly
finger.
I've edited some recordings to remove ums and ahs, and then like put
Ah,
the
yeah, yeah,
and then put the audio back into Resolve because I don't know what Final Cut Pro.
yeah. Well, for editing the ums and uhs
Right,
out, have I talked about a tool that
Descript.
I'm using now for that?
Is it not
What's that?
Descript?
It's Descript. Oh my
It is
god.
Descript. Yeah, I should try it. I heard
It is
once you
spectacular.
is it monthly though? I think that's the only because I feel like once I try it, I'm going to like it, and then I'll end up paying for it.
Yeah, so I am because I work for a company that went through Y Combinator.
Oh,
They
are they
have a
also one?
deal where everybody at the company gets it for free for a
Fair
year.
enough.
So people pay for it? I don't know.
It, and
Yeah,
okay, so having done this my own, like ripple editing and all that stuff,
yeah,
because ripple editing the audio is no problem. Ripple editing video, not too bad. But generally, I will edit my audio in an audio editor and then bring it back, and then
yeah,
the video is all out of whack. So being able to do
yeah.
both at once would be pretty handy. So there's certainly
Yeah, I mean, what's amazing about Descript is it says there are 40 instances of ums and uhs and filler words. Do you
oh,
want to
that's
get rid of them?
pre-automatic.
Click, you press enter, and boom, they're all gone.
Because I don't do it often, but when I do it, it really bothers me. I'm pretty good at not
It
having too many
is,
ums and ahs.
it's
Okay.
amazing. And then, I mean, the other thing it does once it's got the voice print, what you sound like, then it'll change. You can change words. You can just change instead of just open this text file and you meant to say markdown, uh go into the text the text script that it's
Oh,
automatically
that's a bridge too
generated
far.
and edit the word text to markdown, and it has you saying edit the markdown document,
Does
and
it
it's
also
like
have NFTs? I feel like that, like
magic.
AI and like human in the loop. I get AI in the loop. I don't know. Sometimes I
Yeah,
get a little
no,
bit sketched out. That's really cool
no,
though.
it's
I
it is
sometimes I'll say like
spectacular.
mic down instead of markdown, and then I've lost like a
Yeah.
whole 30 minutes of recording. And I don't want to go in and put my voice or markdown. You know what I mean? When you record it again, it never sounds the same. It's always just a little bit different. It's like distance to the mic or something is different. And it's just like markdown. It just sticks out. That's actually pretty
there,
cool.
there's a video I just watched today, about Splunk, and the video is like, "What is Splunk?"
Right.
And this video goes through a whole lot of nothing. It doesn't really say anything about what Splunk is.
Interesting.
It's like a weird video, but there's like one thing in the middle where it does say one thing that Markdown or what that Splunk. I'm on
There we
Markdown again.
go. I mean,
One thing that Splunk says. One thing that Splunk actually does,
right.
and it's you can see here that it was an afterthought because it's like another person's voice that says that one sentence.
Where the rest of it was AI
The
generated.
rest of
The
it is
human
just
came
like
in,
this
voiceover.
has. I mean, it's people use Splunk to understand. I mean, like it's high level concepts and
Oh,
no
yes.
detail about what. So why would I care about this company? It's
That's
really weird.
unfortunate. I've also used Splunk. It's got some pros.
Yeah.
It's got some cons.
I was sold on the idea of working at Datadog because somebody said, yeah, it's kind of like Splunk, but for but when nobody had ever heard of Datadog
Right.
because I started early on.
Was it like Splunk for metrics or something like that? Because
Yeah, it was basically that
I
was
guess back then
the
Splunk didn't really do too many metrics.
it
Okay.
was yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Um,
Monitoring's kind of interesting, and Splunk was one of those tools that sort of hit the world by storm because you could do
yeah,
a certain amount. I think it was 500 megabytes per day or something like that.
yeah,
You could do for free, and I did in fact
right,
use it for that for
yeah,
monitoring Apple X servers back in the day, back when
yeah,
Apple had servers. Yeah, I used it for
right.
monitoring that
Yeah, and
at
then there
Best
was
Buy.
another one.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was another one that got bought up by SolarWinds. Um,
No, I don't remember that one.
Another logging tool that I used for. I mean, I used for everything until SolarWinds bought it, and then they
Gotcha.
shut down, free use.
Fair enough.
Um,
Yeah,
and then of
they're
course Datadog finally started supporting logging, and it's like, oh, I'll use our product.
yeah. That interesting part about like those little tools that have the AI bits in them, I think is going to become
Mhm.
more and more common. I saw a tool the other day. A photographer that I watch, Mac Ranger, was using a tool to automatically edit your photo. So like cropping, black and white conversion, suggested white
Mm,
balance, and stuff like that. And he just took his whole set, uploaded it to the cloud, went home, and then checked out the edits with the person he had shot with, like the portrait studio session person, and then they went through and just sort of picked out what the AI, so they're like curating
Okay.
the AI's edits, and again, I feel like maybe I just feel bad because it's sort of like taking my job, you know, like that's
Right.
my
Right.
job. But then again, what the AI did was like pretty rational stuff, and it's probably looking
Yeah.
at I don't know, like Reddit or Flickr and ranking images
Right.
and trying to figure out like where a crop would be and stuff like that. What I did find
Hmm.
interesting is that a lot of the things that Matt Granger thought were better edits on his end, I actually thought the AI did a better job. Like as a viewer of the YouTube, like
Right.
I don't know, he kept trying to put everything on rule of thirds, and I thought the AI did like a more painterly kind of I don't know composition
Mm.
as opposed to something that's more like rigid. Because then all the shots look the same. If you've always got the eyeball on the rule of thirds, sort of,
Right.
it's gonna look a little bit different. But yeah, I think we're in that space where AI can certainly be used as part of problem solving, but where it should be used or how it should be used
Right.
is yeah.
Right.
NFTs for packages and brew. I'll have to try it out. Maybe not sold on it yet. But I have tried the M1 and I've got I think a similar tool set to yours. And so
Hmm.
far, what I will say is that like the laptop computer appears to have come back because I can use it on my lap now, and it's been a good
Mm.
4 or 5 years since I've been able to use a MacBook Pro
Yeah.
on my lap while doing things. And I'm talking like install 50 applications at the same time for funsies,
Right.
and then as soon as they're installed, turn them all on and have them all running for about a
Yeah.
week, and then wait 2 days for the battery to go down. Like what
I
is
know. I
happening?
know. Yeah, I was so amazed when I pulled the M1 out of the box and I started I mean, of course, it comes with what, 50, 60% battery charge,
Right,
80% battery charge out of the box because it's
right,
come from China. And it's, I don't know. And and then I'd load up everything I can. And then, of
right,
course, I'd slam on it like, okay, well, let's parallels. Let's launch a virtual machine
right,
while editing a video because I'm not gonna do that in real life, but I
right.
can. Let's try it out. And then it wasn't until the next day that I thought, oh wait, I need to charge this thing. Where's that plug? I was like, what?
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure if you knew this. Maybe I misunderstood, but that I thought you had to charge over MagSafe. So I was all up in arms because, like, hey, I'm losing a
Ah,
port kind of
yeah,
thing. And you do kind of you do lose a port because I'd rather that be a
yeah.
Thunderbolt port. That being said, being able to just charge over one port is fine. So I've got like two
Yeah.
things plugged into it now, and it's totally fine, which is nice.
I hate I hate the design of the ports on this MacBook.
It could be better. Like the SD
I mean,
card,
the
I don't know.
MagSafe,
Full
yeah, I
size
don't think
HDMI.
MagSafe didn't need to be added to that. That is stupid.
I do
The
like the
whole
MagSafe design, but I feel like maybe there's some sort of like those little dongle things that go on the end of cables for
But it's not
USB-C.
it's not I mean, if you had any of the MagSafe cables from before, it's a
It's not the
different
same.
there's
That's
like
right.
5 pins versus 4 pins.
Yeah, so you can't
Um,
use any of the charges
you
that you
can't use
previously had.
anything you had.
Yeah.
Um, and it's, it's this
Not only that, but you
problem
can't
that
use display that you already had. As someone
yeah.
with like a Thunderbolt display, like it didn't work with that either, which really
Mhm.
kind of like I realize that it's been phased out for a while now, but I thought, hey, MagSafe, MagSafe. No, it's MagSafe
Yeah, no.
2, I think is it's got a different name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then, the, what else is there? The
Well, the SD card reader, like, it takes up a
SD
lot of
card
room,
reader,
and the SD doesn't go
yeah,
in all the way, so it kinda sticks out, and then
no,
I'm scared I'm gonna break it, which it's got my photos
yeah.
on it, and next to that is a full-size HDMI, and I get it.
Which
Definitely people want that. I do not need that. And then the other
no.
side,
I
yeah,
mean,
there's
people
a
are
headphone
upset
jack.
about
I like headphone jacks.
"Oh, I need dongles." Well, yeah, okay, yeah, for the first month you need dongles, but then you get the right cable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been
It's like,
years.
I don't
I mean, listen,
yeah.
I understand the dongle argument, but it's been, like, 7 years. You probably have the dongle
I
already.
mean, okay, somebody just spent 5 grand or 4 grand on this laptop. Spend the extra 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks on some cables.
Right.
Stop complaining about dongles.
Yeah.
And needing, yeah, MagSafe. I mean, it is a
You're
solution
still
to a
not done.
problem that it's a solution to a problem that people think, oh God, that will save me so much. But I've never, I mean, people say, oh, well, I know somebody who knew somebody who actually tripped over a laptop and it fell to the floor,
Oh,
or
I've definitely
you
done
know,
that, but it doesn't need to be
but
charged anymore.
yeah.
The other thing I got, which I've yet to actually play around with, is this remote, which I was told
Cool.
will work with the Mac as a remote, but it's pretty thick. Oh, look at that! I
Yeah.
got autofocus on today. Yeah, it's
Oh
quite
yeah.
thick,
Nice.
which is maybe good, maybe bad, but it's like the
Why?
Siri
Why do you need
remote.
a remote?
Next slide. Yeah, I know. I probably should have got the Logitech one for the same price,
Oh yeah,
but
the
yeah,
the spotlight.
yeah. I think a lot of people now that I have got it and looked
Yeah.
around. But it's
Yeah.
interesting. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely like part of the Apple ecosystem, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice though. Touch bar is gone, and I guess I
I
kind of
hate
miss
that.
it. I'm happy the F keys are back, but also
Yeah. I don't.
there's
I
some
have
stuff about
no
the
idea
touch
why
bar
they
that I
got
like.
rid of. Yeah. No reason to get rid of the touch bar. Add the F keys. Great. Sure. Add those, but there's still room on top for the touch bar, which is amazingly useful,
And
and I
as a
miss it.
keyboard aficionado, are you happy or unhappy with the arrow keys to the left and the right? The tiny arrow keys. He doesn't know. Yeah.
What was it before?
Before it was like this. So this is a Japanese one, but see they're kind of little stubby ones here. These ones.
Oh.
Whereas now they're like half height. Again, they were before, and then
Oh. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm looking at an older MacBook Pro, and it's the
yeah,
same.
yeah,
So on the one with the touch bar, it had a different. I can't
yeah.
remember
They
what
were
it
full
looked like.
size. Yeah, full size
Oh.
keys, and then the up and down were half size.
Oh. Okay. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't care.
The only reason I kind of liked it is because I could feel where the bottom right of the keyboard is pretty easily because they're
Yep.
not full size, so
Yep.
I could tell that where I was. Then
Yeah. I
again,
guess
if
I can
you're
see
on
that.
homeroom, shouldn't really matter.
Yep.
I don't know. Pros and cons.
Yeah.
And I feel like the keyboard is maybe worse. It feels kind of mushy
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feels like the pre 2016
Right.
keyboard mushy.
Right.
And I mean, some people for some reason like that. And the 2016 to 2020 was the when keyboards were made right at Apple. And
Right.
I mean, some had problems, sure, but generally it was perfect
I think you and
and
I agree.
felt
Yeah. And
good.
I use a lot of keyboards. And the one that
Yeah,
people complained about, I actually really, really liked.
I loved it. It was the best keyboard Mac had ever made. Apple had ever made.
We are definitely the minority here, but I like that we agree with each other.
Yeah, I don't know if we are the minority. We're the minority of people that
I think it broke more.
think they
Was the
have a
biggest issue.
voice.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of vocal people that said it was bad, but I think I don't know if most people
I mean,
didn't
I'm
like
sorry.
it
I'm trying to
generally.
look for the old keyboard. I don't have it with me, but like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Mine didn't break, so
no,
I was fine with it.
mine didn't. Yeah, I mean, so towards the end of my time at Datadog, when I was still on my last keyboard, which had was the one that was
Right.
apparently problematic, one of my keys did start sticking a bit. It wasn't so the it was nowhere near as bad as the 2016 keyboards.
Right.
Those, I mean, any dust go under that keyboard and it would stick, and you'd lose that key
Yeah.
all the time. The one that everybody thought was perfect, I mean, that was the problematic one where any dust gets under it,
Yeah.
you're screwed. And so I did have a problem, and I ended up doing, I use what is it, Typinator, basically an alternative, what's the popular one? TextExpander is the popular one on the Mac, but I was
Right.
using one called Typinator, and basically looking for certain words that I would spell with an extra, I don't know, it might have been an extra S or an extra whatever the letter was. It sometimes would stick, or there would be too many, and I just have it autocorrect all the ones that I would. So I'd have this massive list of,
Software solution for a
yeah,
hardware problem.
yeah.
The other thing that you touched on a little bit there was parallels. So I
Mm.
gave a bunch of these apps a try. I tried. Oh, I'm trying to think of
UTM or
I really disliked UTM.
Yeah.
I should say my use case was trying to set up a virtual Mac machine.
Hmm.
One, so I could have admin and then like write the script that I
Yeah.
could eventually use on the OS.
Yeah.
Neither of the tools I used did that properly. The other one was Virtual Buddy. Also, like
Hmm.
neither of these could like virtualize Mac OS
Yeah.
easily.
It's a great idea for something that is free, but it not worth the. It's too
Not usable.
expensive.
And so you went down the
Yeah.
Parallels path. I went down the VMware
Yeah.
Fusion path because I think if you
Well,
used to have a license, you get the tech preview for free, which is what I used.
but yeah, so when I started using Parallels, there was no option for
Yeah,
VMware. There,
it's
it wasn't
pretty new.
available.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it
and
only
it.
just got announced last couple of days or a week,
I feel like it maybe
or it's
2 3
finally
weeks ago.
released.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, maybe it's fully released now. It was tech preview when I
Yeah.
got it, but I got a laptop
Okay.
about 2 weeks ago.
So it didn't exist, and they had no timeline for when it might exist.
It was pretty solid when I got it, but I read the comments.
Okay.
It was super
Yeah.
unstable, so I can see why. Like, even if it had have
Yeah.
launched, it may not have been the best experience.
Yeah.
That being said, running like actual ARM OS in VMware Fusion Preview is amazing. It is so
Yeah.
incredibly fast. Same thing for
Yeah.
Mac OS. It feels like a native OS all the way down to like
Yeah.
playing a YouTube video is like an easy test. Can I play YouTube
Yeah.
in a VM while in the VM?
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
amazing.
Same with Parallels.
My eyes are like
It is
massive.
spectacular.
You're like, wow, this is the dream.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing to actually have that low power, high performance
Yeah.
computer, and it feels like similar to me at least. NVMe was a big step forward. SSD was a
Hmm.
big step forward. This M1
Hmm.
chip feels like a big step forward.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
leaps and bounds above.
amazing.
It's quite nice. It, yeah, I really like it. I did, however, in terms of getting an ARM OS working in a virtual machine, ran into some issues. There's
Mm.
driver problems, of course.
Hmm.
I had to use Ubuntu 22.10. I'm sure the next LTS release will be okay, but the last LTS release would not,
Mm.
except the video driver, basically. And then I tried
Okay.
a couple other operating systems. They had similar but different problems with just virtual hardware not being
Right.
recognized. Um, but I did get 22.10 running, and it is so fast.
Yeah.
It's awesome for a dev environment
Yeah.
like Docker machine. It's perfectly fine. It's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
using Docker? Because I
Yeah.
couldn't install that. I didn't have permission, so I still haven't put Docker Toolbox on.
So I am using Docker. So when I got my M1, it was, I think I got it just like maybe the week before Docker was finally available on M1.
Okay. Okay.
So at the beginning, there was no Docker option. And but that's there, and it works great. It
Yeah.
just
So far, I
works.
haven't come
I mean,
across
even
like an
Docker
image
with
that.
Kubernetes,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
I haven't come across any images that aren't supported on ARM now, but
yeah.
I think being a laggard on my end, I think it's great. Like people have gone through and like tidied up basically, so I didn't have to be the early adopter,
The,
which is actually kind of nice.
yeah, the only thing that I've really run into problems with M1 has really been around crew plugins. So if you're using Kube
Oh, I haven't tried
Control
Crew.
or kubectl, and then you use the crew plugin manager for Kube
Right?
Control, there's a whole bunch of plugins that haven't been updated in 3 years, and so don't have the command line parameter for
Oh,
launching as something other than x86
gotcha.
or whatever the
I
thing
literally
is.
just stood up a cluster. I didn't do anything more than
Yeah,
that. It
yeah.
says it's running, but I should probably check on it. Maybe there's some things that just aren't running.
No,
So
no, I
like
mean
I didn't
it
try
would.
Helm or any other package
Yeah,
manager or anything
yeah.
like that.
And it's only these like 6 or 7 crew plugins that I tried that wouldn't work, and
Okay.
everything else is perfect. Um, yeah,
It feels nice. Like
it
again, I
feels
feel
great.
like this
Yeah.
is a big deal. I noticed the trackpad's a lot smaller than my 16-inch, the version that I had before. But then again, it's also quite a bit smaller laptop. What's funny to me is that the
Oh, you
screen
don't have the
on the
16-inch?
no, and I do actually like a larger trackpad. I realize like
Yeah.
really big trackpad. Like
Why didn't you
I'm
get a
using
bigger?
yeah the bigger yeah. I use a
Why didn't
big
you get the
trackpad.
bigger one?
I think I may, yeah, we'll see if I haven't found any issues with it other than the
Yeah.
trackpad. and most of the time it's docked, so
Yeah.
it's kind of it's like a
You're
non-issue.
gonna
But
use the
on the
trackpad a
couch,
lot. You should swap it out.
yeah, I noticed on the couch it was a little bit too small, but I shouldn't be computing on the
Yeah.
couch anyway. But you're saying if I'm in an airport or a hotel or something, I'll probably notice, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it's your, I mean, if it was my personal machine, yeah, I'd also, I mean, within the
Right,
30 days, I'd return it and get the bigger one.
right.
But I wouldn't have made the mistake of getting the smaller one to begin with, um, for my own personal thing. But if it was something that was given to me by my employer, well, I mean, Datadog's probably got a whole bunch of 16 inches in a stack somewhere,
Yeah,
and
fair
so
enough.
just
Fair enough.
swap it out. Yeah,
It's not bad. It's just that sometimes I do actually draw on the trackpad to just freehand draw, and I do find that the larger
yeah,
one gives you more.
yeah.
I don't know, precision. Just
I
piece of metal.
I recently had to so the company I'm at now,
Mhm.
we're smaller. Back at when I first joined Datadog, we were so small that we didn't have an HR team. There was no HR group or
Right.
people management group. And so they had worked with, I don't know, it was before Namely. It was another small company that was, did all the HR, outsourced HR. And
Right.
so we're at that stage now where we're outsourcing HR, and we're outsourcing it to a company called Rippling.
Okay.
And Rippling, for onboarding onto the healthcare stuff, man, I have never gone through a easier HR healthcare onboarding process. I mean, they are amazing
That's awesome.
until you get to the right at the end,
Okay.
right at the end where where you need to sign your name. And you got to
Okay.
sign. And usually a lot of these, like DocuSign, they'll like say, okay, here's your name. Here are 6 options for a signature that you
Right.
might
Pick
like,
one that
whatever.
looks
And you choose
really
one,
acceptable.
and yeah. But this one, no, there's a big box, and you're supposed to sign your name.
Scribble. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're on this laptop, it's like, okay, let me try this again. Ah, okay, let me try this again. I got it
Yeah,
out of
because
the lines, and
you
now
have
it's
to
turned
press
off.
in and drag. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, okay, let me get a pen and like write on it, but that didn't work well either. Okay, let me get a mouse app for my iPhone so I can control. Now, I guess the smart thing would have been to
Like a welcome template or
actually
something.
go to the web page from my iPad and sign it on there.
Right.
But yeah, that was a pain.
The fact that you still have to sign for things is actually kind of
Yeah,
odd to me because it doesn't
yeah.
really do anything. It's
Can I
like,
just give my SSH key?
yeah, it's like single factor, right?
Uh,
It's like something
yeah,
you know and then something you
yeah.
know. Like your name, and how to
It's
sign your
like when
name,
I
you
sign
also know.
You sign for that package when UPS delivers it, and what ends up showing up is that like 4 scratches where you signed, but the pad
It,
is so worn that it only sees.
exactly. It's like four
Yeah,
lines. The other day, the
yeah.
uh, the person who delivered something to me actually signed for my package, and it doesn't matter. He's like, "Oh, well, I already signed for it." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. I mean,
Thanks.
what am I gonna do?" Yeah, it is a little bit weird that we're at this point. I find it really interesting when I travel to the U.S. It's like pin and signature or something like that, which is really odd to me. Like, why? What
Yeah,
does a signature provide? I don't know. You already got
yeah,
my card,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I know my pin, so I don't know what factor the signature does. And you're not checking the signature against anything else, so you don't know if this is my signature or not.
Yeah, when I first was in the process of moving to Amsterdam,
Hmm.
so this would have been 20 years ago, I it was a lot of stuff was going on. I was living in San Francisco, and I flew over to Amsterdam, and I was paired up with a person to kind of show me around different houses that are available for rent, so I could rent something. And I saw this one place, and I was like, perfect. This is awesome. It was on one of the main canals, right downtown, and kind of Amsterdam Central, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. And so I was like, okay, I want to go forward with it. But then, in talking with the landlord, I says,
Mhm.
I can't believe I did this. I left my checkbook at home, so I can't write you a check for the deposit. I said,
Right.
check? What what do you mean
What is a
a
check?
check? So what is that?
Like an IOU.
Well, how do I
Piece of paper.
get you money for the? Oh, don't you have PIN? I mean, and this is 20 years ago, and you just use a credit card, and everybody
Right.
accepts a credit card, and it just, or you just go to your bank, and it like is a electronic transfer, ETF or EFT, right? Without even thinking about it. And that was 20 years ago, and we're still. I mean, and nobody used checks unless you were. I mean, I never saw anybody with a check in Europe 20
Yeah.
years ago.
What I find interesting, so like that's one case. The next is like email money transfer in the U.S. doesn't seem to be a thing because banks to banks use the plus system here, and they do in Europe as well,
Mhm.
where they can essentially it's not free, but they can transfer money between them without a cost to the
Right.
user. It's probably free. In the US, this doesn't exist, so you have to use Venmo. And Venmo, like, there's an entire
Yeah.
company built around, and is it publicly passing each other money? Just so
Yeah.
strange to me. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't need social networking. Maybe we
Well,
complained about this on this podcast before, but like transferring money to other people to me seems like
yeah.
one of those no-brainers. It's just part of the banking system.
But then there's a lot of the banks have bought into this platform called Zelle.
Oh, I haven't heard of Zelle.
And but the problem with using Zelle is that if you accidentally send it to the wrong people,
Mhm.
there's no getting the money back.
It's gone.
With Venmo, if you send it to the wrong person, okay, well they'll just swap it. I mean, they do many checks to make sure you're sending to the right person,
Right.
but then you can get it back.
In our
Zelle,
system, like, I have
nope.
to set up a password and then let you know what it is, that kinda thing.
Yeah,
But is Venmo not like tweets for money? Are they all
yeah.
public transfers? Like, I don't know. Twitter's
They don't have to be.
listen,
It's
I didn't mean to
defaults.
segue into Twitter, but, like, I really don't think I need my money transfers to other people for the check
No, you
at the
you
table.
can set your default to be private,
Okay,
or
okay.
I think by
Oh,
default the
hey,
default is public,
okay.
and then each
What a weird default.
payment is public,
Okay.
but you can set any one of them to be private. I mean,
You
the
can tell I've
main
never
use
used
I
it.
use the main way I use Venmo is you go up the street, and
Right,
there's this woman Raquel that sells bread on the side of the road, and
right,
it's like the best bread you can
right.
buy
Fresh eggs, milk, that
anywhere.
kinda stuff. So the person the
And
first
yeah,
time.
people sell eggs.
What
And
happened to
Raquel's
PayPal?
farm stand on. Oh, you got this loaf of bread. It's so warm. Oh, good stuff.
You're making me hungry. But what happened to PayPal? Like, did that not take off? Because that's what people use here if they're in
Yeah,
person and they don't
PayPal.
know
I
each
don't know.
other, that kind of thing.
I mean, it's on websites, but
Not so
I
much in
don't
person.
think of it as something that. I mean, with actually on that woman's, she's got basically a whiteboard with the different ways of paying, and I think she
Right.
does take PayPal.
Okay.
But Venmo is the way that most people
Right.
will do it.
Right. I saw people selling CDs in New York that were taking Venmo, for
Oh
example.
yeah,
Someone on our
yeah.
team may or may not have gotten 2 CDs and Venmoed somebody for them. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Before we leave though, so one of the apps that I
Oh
installed
yeah.
on my laptop was called. Oh shoot, I'm gonna forget it now. It was like this Mastodon app called
Oh yeah.
Mastonaut, which was highly recommended in
Oh,
the
is that
App
what
Store.
I?
And I've yet to
Oh
obviously
yeah, Mastodon.
I've not gone on to Mastodon, but Mastonaut I feel like it seems to be the client that everyone's using for it. And I was going to
Yes.
ask you, it sounds like you're using the same one. Which client you're using for Mastodon?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I am using Mastodon because it seems to suck less than the other options.
okay, okay. I do
There is no
again.
good option.
Old man yelling at clouds here. I do feel like IRC is still pretty cool. No one seems to agree with
Mhm.
me,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Or like Discord, because I'm
Yeah.
on Discord now, or some other like I don't know, some other service. I tried out Vero instead of Instagram the other day. Also did
Mm,
not like Vero. I don't know if you've heard
mm,
of it. It's okay.
no.
Or Grainery, which is only for like 35 millimeter or basically like analog
Mm,
photography.
okay.
Also wasn't for me. I've
Yeah.
been on the let's try new social media things recently for many
Mhm.
reasons. Some of them obvious, some of them less obvious. But yeah, not I haven't had anything
Mm.
stick yet. I think help me understand Mastodon though. As an old, is Mastodon not a private Twitter instance? Is that not the
Not
whole idea?
private.
But,
Private.
I
So
mean, like privately run. How's that? Could be public, but is run by like one
could
individual.
yeah. I mean, it's not a private company that runs it.
Right.
There's not one private
Right.
company like well, I guess is Twitter public? Anyway, it's not one company that runs it in
I think
their
Twitter's privately held.
data centers. So Mastodon is federated,
Okay.
and so you'll sometimes hear the word Fediverse, the
Okay.
Fediverse.
I kind of like that though. Federation's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yes, and then you can create your I mean, I don't really know, but you can create your Mastodon instance, and then that instance is able to communicate with all the other instances.
That's pretty
And
cool.
I'm not sure if you if you log in, I think you're logging into your instance, to the instance that you have signed on to, and it's getting all the I think it's getting all the messages. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's like a FidoNet or the other BBSs that we dialed into in the
Right.
past, where there's these massive downloads of all the messages.
Right.
I don't really
It
understand.
sounds like Jabber or XMPP, I guess was the term.
Yeah,
Like
but then there's some
federation,
people that will set up their own Mastodon instance, and it's really meant for just one person, and it's them, and they don't invite other people, but it's still federated, so they can still exchange messages to others,
Okay.
but
So
it's theirs.
I guess the question would be: are there any Mastodon networks, if that's the right term, that I should be looking at?
Network, or I mean, there's
Servers?
instances,
Okay.
servers.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I chose. I don't know what I'm on. I'm on.
I guess I'm looking for the
Cloud.
hangouts of
I'm on
Mastodon.
Mine is technevangelist at fostodon.org.
Fostodon, like Faust.
FOSS, as in free and open source.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
pretty cool.
And then, but there's also, and then I see there's a bunch of like the cloud providers are providing their own instance, and
also makes sense instead of everyone going onto the cloud provider and starting.
Right, instead of you having to pay to run this thing, these companies that already have a massive amount of power are doing. So Xivo has theirs, which is I think Cloud Community or something like that.
Right.
But you don't have to be a customer. Actually, I think Xivo locked it down so that it's really just for customers. I don't know. I don't know what they've done. But I think you could lock it down so that only people who are, maybe there's a photography one, and only people that are posting about photography are on there. And you could post other things, but as long as most of the posts are about photography, or you're a big person in the photography world.
This is good. This is why we have these chats. Because my next question was going to be: so does it support images in a better way than Twitter? Because Twitter's image support, I am not a fan of.
No, so like I know with Twitter, I mean, I've posted something with an image, and the image is there, and then 6 weeks later it disappears, and there's no getting it back.
Okay.
Will this do the same? I don't know.
The biggest problem I had with Twitter is like, one, it wasn't cropping, but the preview was cropped, and over the years it changed.
Which
was really annoying to me. The other was it did just like a lot of these platforms will do, like sharpening and compression and just make it look like garbage at the end of the day. Because I'm more than happy to submit to exactly your spec.
Right.
Just tell me what your spec is, and I'll be fine.
Right.
But don't change your spec.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting about Fostodon, or about Mastodon, Mastodon in general. So I signed on to, I think it was like Tech Community was the one, and I had like Matt at Tech Community as my Mastodon thing. That server has gone away.
Oh.
And so when it goes away, it's like, okay, go find another one and create a new account. Like,
and then you lose your content. Okay, that's kind of good though. It reminds you that you don't own your content. I kind of like that. It's like the Let's Encrypt of certificates.
I mean, you can download it. You
Okay.
can download all your content, and then I think you can submit your content to a new server, so you can move stuff around.
Okay.
And so now that new server will be the source of all your past tweets, even from before you were on that server, I think.
Gotcha.
Uh, and I was going to go somewhere else with that, but I can't remember what I was going to say.
And does it have like
Um,
Periscope or Vine kind of things to it? Like, can I chat with people using voice or video? Can I
I don't
upload
think
videos?
so.
No, not yet. Okay. All right.
No.
The problem I think with Twitter
Maybe,
is it's like
maybe.
it's like a superset of features as opposed to just like that text chat kind of thing. And I'm not
Like
saying it
I
needs to
think
replace all of them, but I really like the image portion of what
I
we do.
think we might be streaming on Twit. Are we? No, we're doing Twitch and LinkedIn and YouTube. But I think there was an option to stream directly to Twitter
Interesting. In what I
because
guess must
everybody's.
have then been Periscope, but it's now just Twitter video or Twitter Live or
Oh,
something.
maybe, yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try it out again. We'll get back. So I'll maybe try TLS.
yeah.
I'll definitely try Homebrew on the M1, and then I'll try Mastodon out. I'm
Um,
not really active on Twitter anyway. For a
yeah.
bunch of reasons. There's a lot going on Twitter.
I haven't. I'm not really that active on Twitter. Oh, I remember what I was going to say about when I tried Mastodon 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Um, I didn't like it because it was really like a lot of really nasty conversations and like people being super mean to each other.
That's not
And I
good.
was like, well, I'm going to go back to Twitter where things are
At least
okay. There are
some
some
of
nasty
yeah
people, but generally it's
yeah.
safer. Um, and now I've come back and it's a little bit better, but maybe I'm just using it differently. I'm
Fair
not
enough.
sure. Um,
Yeah, I do want like
but
a nice community.
nice. Yeah.
I want to be like that
Um,
illusion that humans are kind of. I want to
yeah.
maintain
Yeah.
that illusion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, so do we have any tips? Any things that we've? Oh, you talked about your things, huh?
I did.
Those
I
were.
think I might suggest Ginger Root. I don't know if you've heard Ginger Root before.
Mm,
Ginger
no.
Root's a band. I believe it might actually be one
Oh,
person. But Ginger Root,
okay.
yeah, it's Cameron Liu is the person's name. But definitely check out Ginger Root.
Hmm.
There's a new EP which is pretty good, but I wouldn't say it's great. So the new EP is
I was
called
thinking this was going to be something that like Bundaberg makes, like
Oh
ginger
yeah,
root.
no, no.
No,
So the new EP is
no.
Nisemono, which I think means fake things in Japanese. So like a
Mm,
a fake kind of thing.
mm,
The EP is pretty good, but actually the back catalog is maybe a little bit better. Definitely worth checking out.
mm,
And the latest single is actually really good, which is off that EP.
mm.
So Ginger Root would be my
Ginger
checkout.
root.
It's pretty chill. It's all one person. The videos are really good. If you want to just like look at them on YouTube, that might be good.
Hmm.
Um, he says this is aggressive elevator soul. I think the soul part's pretty good. The aggressive part is definitely like some crescendo stuff in there that you might like. But it's good to sort of put on the background because it is kind of
Hmm.
chill music, but also the instrumentation is top notch.
Cool.
What about yourself?
Well, for me, I recently just started playing with, well, recently, like today, started playing around with something that looks to be interesting. I haven't gotten it to work, but I like the idea of it. And
Okay,
that is, and I guess first off, there's Tunnels by Cloudflare. Did we actually talk about this last time?
you did not, but I am interested in Tunnels by Cloudflare. Okay, keep going.
So have you played around with it?
I have not. I've heard of it though.
So the idea is that you've got some process that's running on a machine inside your home or your office or wherever, something that's not accessible by over the internet, and you want to make it available over the internet. And you've got a Cloudflare account, and that Cloudflare account knows about basically your DNS server for your domain.
Right.
Um, Now I can have. I guess you can also use it without a custom domain, but
Okay.
I'm using it with a custom domain. And so now I can have maybe I've got an Nginx server or
Hmm.
some other. I've just built out some new API that people can consume,
Hmm.
um, and that could exist on in a virtual machine or on my Mac directly, or in Docker or in Kubernetes. And then with Cloudflare tunnels, I can set up a tunnel to that, and then Cloudflare knows about it. And you can say, well, whenever somebody visits my cool new service.tmlw.io, which is my domain, then it connects to that service that's running inside, even though there's no connection from the outside to it.
So instead of ngrok or what people would use in the past.
Yeah, it is I mean, so when looking for alternatives, ngrok is like the well-known alternative.
Right.
But you're using your domain, and it's, at least for the first, I don't know, 50 services, it's free.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Related to that, I think related to that is Funnel, not Tunnel, but Funnel from Tailscale.
Gotcha.
And that looks, although right now I don't see a way to do a custom domain on that. It's just their domain, I think. But I haven't really dug into that at all.
Check it out. Let us know. I think ngrok's one of those tools that most of us have used for exactly that purpose before.
Yeah. And so I can without having to, I mean, on my home network, I don't have a static IP address. And yeah, I can use, one of these DNS things that will update my Cloudflare DNS based on what is my current IP address, which is probably going to be pretty static, but it might change.
Yep.
And so every
especially
2
when
hours,
you're away, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
Power flips on and off.
Exactly.
And new IP. Yeah.
So, yeah, I like the idea of this Cloudflare tunnel. I think their terms of service say that it's just for, unless you're paying it, you have to do just like simple HTML, like it's a test. It's like simple HTML, not a full app.
That's fine.
That's one thing. Some documentation I saw kind of said, technically the terms of service.
What would you be trying to build on this? But still,
I mean, I'm not building the next Twitter or anything like that.
Your mastodons sitting behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it looks like a very interesting. I started using. So I have one of my domains on Cloudflare specifically so that I could do. What was it? Oh, I wanted to have SSL certificates on all the services internally on my home network.
Right.
And so when I go to my Home Assistant server, it's HTTPS, and
you don't have to type in this is unsafe, enter like every couple of days.
Yeah. And so that's all being done through Let's Encrypt. Right. And so there's this, I don't know, I followed some tutorial that did it through Let's Encrypt on Cloudflare, and it's just super easy to do.
Very cool.
And because it's already there, because that's there, now I can do these tunnels as well. And it looks like it should be pretty easy to configure. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Right on. Well, good tips.
So yeah.
All right.
All right.
Again, no topic, but give some things to talk about.
Yeah. And next time we got to come up with a good idea. Or do we? I don't know. Maybe we don't.
At least having one good idea.
This is.
I think Mastodon.
I was.
We want to talk about today, and I am honestly interested in Mastodon, so it's good. I really am interested in this kind of stuff.
I saw that there was the reason Splunk came up today was that there was they've got a blog post as pretty recently, looking at a whole bunch of reports that came out in the last few weeks or a few months.
Right.
From like Puppet and from other the Dora stuff from Google. So that's why it came. That's why, but I forgot to actually mention it to you.
Fair enough.
But some of those might be good.
Agreed. Yeah, reports are always fun.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Cool. All right.
Let's see if we can find the end broadcast button.
Yeah, I think so. I think I can find it.